Hello, Nikolai Markovich from Echo Lake Technologies, echolaketech.com. In this video, which is actually a continuation of an earlier video I did, I'm going to show you some expanded capabilities for filtering by a user. In my earlier video, it wasn't set up so that an individual user could have their own filter. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set it up for each user. Before I begin, if you do have any questions, please leave me comments below and I will reply to them as soon as possible. And please also subscribe for future videos. Let me quickly go and do a demo here. So in this one, this is part of my prior video where you could select different attributes here for a order that I have in the data structure. So I will point in the notes below the link to that video. But in this video, what I want to show you is how to set it up so that you could have either one filter per user, or you could actually set up multiple filters per user. So for the single filter per user, I have this one in here, and basically what it's doing is it's looking for order status of 1. So you see these different order statuses here. So order status 1, color green, and there's no form or payment status. And so it shows a hit for that, for the different orders that are in the database. And on this one here, I actually have it set up so that there's multiple filters. So I only have 2 filters set up in this demo, but you could have 5, 10, however many filters per user. So if I click on filter 1, it's the order name is order 1, order status 1, color is green, and so forth. So it's similar to this one here. And then if I click on filter 2, you can see that it comes up with more hits on there. So let's walk into the design part here. And all right, so again, I'm not going to spend too much time over on the left-hand side here, as I do have another video to walk through this design in this repeating group. What's new in this video are these 2 different repeating groups. And again, this is to allow you to set up filters per individual in your app. So basically what we have here, I just have a simple text here for one user filter, or one filter per user is probably more accurate, and then multiple filters per user here. And what I have is a drop down, and so just to show you where the drop down, so right here, simple drop down like that. So over on the left hand side, drop down is what you use. And I'm just going to delete that so I can show you the design. So user filter, this is basically just what's going to show up here when the app is running. So the default is static choices. What you want to do here is pick dynamic choices because we're going to do a search here. And we're going to be searching for users. And the way this is set up in the data structure is basically under the user data type, I have a field in there called filters, and I'm going to get to the data structure in a moment, but it's called filters. And basically what we want to do is search for users, and basically it's going to be the email is going to be the current user's email. So again, this design here implies that each user has their own account and that they're logged in, so that when this runs, it's going to be looking for the current user's email, so the person who's logged in, their email, and it's going to search for that user. And then current options, that's kind of a default with Bubble, and then we're going to be looking at filters. So again, under users, I have all these different data types, and in there there's filters. And let me go over to the data structure here for a moment. So under users, and it's under app data right now, but what I want to do is go over to data types. And this is actually where you create new types and fields and so forth. So click on user, and under user, I have filters. And you see filters is a list of text. So if you're not familiar with doing that, so create a new field and filters 2. I'm just making this up for the video here, and then it's of type text. And then to get the list, you just basically click that checkbox there. So I'm not going to go and create it, but just so you see how to do this in your own app. So filters is a list of texts. Okay. So basically all I'm doing here on this drop-down is I'm doing a search for users, where the user is the current users that logged in, their email. So I get a hit on that, and then I look and I show the different, or the filter in this drop-down. And then for the repeating group, I'm looking at orders. And let me go over here for a moment to orders. So orders right here. And just so to kind of go through this, to create a new type. So again, if I was to do this brand new, so orders, I would go and create it. But I'm not going to do that because I've already got it here. And then when it comes up, you'll see orders. And then you basically just create new field types. So again, color is one of them, and it's of type text. I'm not going to go and create that because I've already got it right here. So I've got these different attributes for orders. Now in your app, you could have whatever data type, again, new type, whatever data type you may have in your app, and then a lot of these different fields. So for this one, just for an example, I've made this one up called orders, and it's got color, filters, form, order name, order status, payment status, and so forth. So for your app, you're going to have a lot of different fields on it. The one thing to note is that for this to work, you will need something called filter or filters or whatever, which will be a list of texts. So this is an important part of the design and the data structure. And the reason why you need this is you're going to have all these attributes for orders or whatever, again, whatever data type you have. And for filters, you want to make sure that you have those list of text here, form, color, order name, so forth, order status, as a list of text. And I'm going to actually jump over because this may be a little confusing to actual data, so you can see. So I'm going to go over to orders, and again, I went from data types here to app data, and I've gone in and I've created a bunch of these orders already. And basically, if you click on the little pencil here, you can see I've got a color green, it's a circle, test 1 filter, order status 2. Okay, and this is what I was mentioning, is that filters is a list of texts, and you want to make sure that this field here, filters, has all of the different attributes. So I could have other data types in here, data 1, data 2, data 3, and so forth. And I may not want to use those as part of filtering, so you wouldn't need to add those in here. So for instance, I've got green in here, so I could actually delete this. I know that red is another one. Okay, and that's basically how you go and manually change this in the database. Make sure you save it. Got that. So again, I'm going to jump back to data types. So it's important, again, that you have filters, which is a list of text or filter, whatever you may want to call it. And what you're basically going to do is collect all the different attributes that you're going to be used for filtering. So you can see it's color green here. I've got green in the filter, circle right here for form. And then I've got order status 2, order status 2. Okay, so that's again an important part of this design for it to work. Now I'm going to come back over here to the repeating group, and so I'm going to do a search for orders. I'm going to look for all of the orders at this point. Another key part of this design is to do filtered. So under orders, actually, so let me do this here for a second, because just to show you real quick. I'm going to delete this. Okay, so you got search for orders, and then you see this little more here. So you want to click on more, and then scroll down, and it's towards the bottom. You see all these different choices. You want to click on filtered here. So then you see this filtered, and when you do that, you're going to have this pop-up here. Okay, so if I just close it, but if I click on filtered, it's going to pop up, and then you add constraints. Now I'm not going to do it here because I've already got it set up, and it does take a little bit of time to do so. Click on filtered. And now what you're going to do here is we have this advanced, and I'm going to walk through this in more detail in a second, but just to quickly go over advanced this orders filters. Okay, so the repeating group is of type orders. Filters, so I'm going to be looking at the filters within orders, and that it contains list. And I'll show you in a second. There is an option for contains, and there's also contains list. You want to pick contains list because you're actually looking at multiple attributes or filters, if you will. So a list of those. So you want to choose contains list, and then drop down single filters. So this is drop down single filter is the name. Okay, value, you want to choose value, filters, and just as you recall, we're looking at filters, so there's other choices on here under user. Okay, and I think I actually chose the wrong one, so filters. The other thing I have in here is and, so drop down single filters, value is not empty. And so this basically prevents showing just all of the different orders. It just picks when the filter here that you choose is empty or not chosen. I don't want to show all of the different items that could be found in the database. So I make this value is not empty. Now let me walk through this in a little more detail so it'll be a little easier to understand. Okay, so advanced is actually at the bottom here. So you click on that. And then this orders, so you got it's going to pull up all the different data types in the in orders. And I want to click filters, and then you see contains here. You want to pick contains list because we're going to be looking at multiple items, right? So let me just go back to the database just real quick. So remember that this is a list. Okay, so this is why over here on filtered, you want to do contains list. Okay, and then drop down single filters. Let's see here, we're single filter value. Okay, and then we want to look at the filters. Filters. Now, if you see here, I have filter. This is from another demo that I was working on. So this one, you want to pick filters. It may be different for your app. Okay, so basically what we're doing here is we're looking at the filters for orders, that list of text fields, and we want to make sure that we have a hit with the filters of a user via the drop down. Okay, and then we get this little more here. Oops. Filters, more. We want to do an and here. And now we want to do the drop down, single filters, value, and then towards the bottom. Let's see here, where is it? Is not empty, like that. Okay, so that's basically how you go and choose that. I'm going to delete it because we already have it right here. And that is basically how you set up this repeating group. So again, we do a search here for users. That is the current user logged in. And then we want to see the one filter that user has. And then basically in this repeating group, here we're looking at all the orders that are in the database, but we only want to filter and find the one that has the filters of that specific user. So that's that part of the design. This one here is similar. We do have a drop down here. And in this one, instead of looking for users, we're looking for filters in this one. I'm going to jump to the data structure for a second. So what I've done here is I've created, again, down at the bottom, let's see here, where is it? There we go. Down at the bottom, a new type. And I've got filters. And in filters, I've got a filter, which is a list of texts. And then we have filter name, and then we have the user. And this is going to allow you to set up specific filters. If you have more than one filter, this is what you would do per user. And you will have their user in this filter, and then the list of whatever attributes or criteria that you're using to filter, and then filter name. Your design might be something a little bit different, but this gives you kind of the essence of what you want to have set up in your design. And I'm actually going to go to app data. So that was data types. I'm going to go to app data, and under, I've got a few of these set up already. And so on this one, we've got the filter, and I've already loaded this up with some of the filters, the filter name, and then the user as well. So I manually, I'm going to digress here for a moment, and I manually created this. So I've got this, so filter, so red is one of them, and then filter name, I'm just going to call it test. And then user 6, I think, was one of the users, like that. So that's basically how you can manually create. Okay, so if you click new entry, that allows you to go and manually create. I'm going to actually, I'll keep it in there for now. We can look at that in a moment when the app is running. So that's how you go and you manually create a field, or an entry rather, in the database. Okay, so basically what we have on this drop down is, again, select filter, so that's what's going to show up. Dynamic choices, again, and we're going to be searching for filters as opposed to users. And for searching, we are going to be looking within filters that the user is the current user. Okay. The other thing that I did on this one, which is purely optional, is I did a sort by the filter name, and then I just did it in descending order. You don't have to do that at all. It's purely personal preference. I just wanted to show that that is an option. And then current option is what comes up by default, and then the filter's name. So again, we have the filter, which is actually a list of the text fields, the criteria of the filter, if you will, and then the filter name, user, and so forth. So we want the filter name. And then next, moving on to the repeating group. Again, similar to this repeating group, we're doing looking for type of content orders. Same thing here. We're doing a search for orders. So this, so far, similar to here. Search for orders, nothing has changed. And this is where the magic happens, is in this filtered here. So what I'm going to do is similar to the last one. I'm going to walk through. So you want to pick advanced down at the bottom. And then this orders, let's see, this orders filters, where this, no, sorry, I jumped ahead of myself. This orders filters, contains list, where is contain? There we go. Contains list, not contains because it won't work. Contains list because we're looking at a list of criteria. And then we want to look at the list, drop down list of filters, value, filter. Okay. So now we're basically taking a look at the data field within orders of filters. And now we are bouncing that against the filtered data type, the filters within all of those, the filter in the database, right? So all of these filters, we're basically taking a look and bouncing it against this specific field within filter here. Okay. And then the other thing, just so you see there's no more here. If I click on filter, it's going to give me the more icon or button here. So I click on that, click on and then similar to the other one, I want to do drop down list of filters value is, let's see, is not empty, like that. All right. And so that's basically how you set that up. And let's go over here. And we'll run it. So I'm now logged in as user 1. So user 1. All right, so we've got, within the database, we have a order that has a hit, that order status 1 and green. Multiple user, so I got filter 1, filter 2. I'll pick on filter 1. That just happens to be the same thing. Do filter 2, gets a different hit. Now if I come over here, so order status 1, so if I click order status 1, and then I pick green, so you can see I get the hit in the database there as well. Now in this one, this isn't set up to be designated for any specific user. This is more, if you will, an anonymous setup, so any orders in the database for that. Now what I'm going to do, so you see this is user 1. I'm going to come over to the database. And this is something else that you may or may not be aware of. I'm going to come to users. And then, so I was running as user 1. I'm going to do a run as. Click on run as, and I'm going to run as user 6. You see user 6. And so user 6 has different filters. And then test was the one we just created. So I think we just had the value of red in there. So we get these 3 hits. Test 1, test 2, and again, I put test 1, test 2. For your app, you'll put whatever is meaningful for the filter name, so just be aware of that. Now what I'm going to do is, I have a little hidden kind of button here to log out. So now you'll see that the user is not logged in. So there's nobody logged into the app. And I don't get any choices, but I can come over here and I can still do filtering and so on and so forth. All right, so just so that you are aware of that, I'm going to run as user 1 again, and then you'll see these choices become available. Okay, so that is basically how you can set up filtering criteria for specific users in your app. And that can be a pretty powerful tool for your app. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, again, leave me comments below. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. And again, please subscribe. I do have future videos coming, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks.